Very good. Thank you. Yes, and I also joined Andre in Nigeria 2 weeks ago. So the whole MVNO market is close to my heart. I was working for an SIM card company called Expon Card in Denmark many years ago, 20 years ago. And MVNOs has been around in Denmark for many years. It was among the first countries to make the legislation that would support it, and actually also the MNOs to realize that it was not only a bad thing, that they actually had all these MVNOs running around creating business that was on their network. So I think that was an experience when we were supplying SIM cards to them that we saw this happen. And this is of course also why I am in eSIM today. Now that's the new thing. And so in 2017 I joined Nordic eSIM. We are focusing on eSIM only, everything around eSIM. We assist, and we have the SMDP Plus and the M2M eSIM platform, the SMSR, SMDP. So we support both those use cases, fully GSMA certified, and of course now fighting with all our colleagues, competitors out there to win market shares with MNOs and MVNOs. With my experience with MVNOs, I think that is of course also a place where we can get a very good market share. Being a smaller, more agile company, we fit very well to the needs of MVNOs. They need us to act fast, and they need us also to not require that they have a full technical team sitting there waiting for them, but we can sort of ask the questions in a more humane way, and we can find out what is the solution together. So that's how we approach all our customers, and it works very well towards MVNOs as well. So for eSIM, I think you have all realized it's here. I think one of the most important things when you think about eSIM is that most of your questions can be answered by thinking of a SIM card, because an eSIM is not different. It is the same, but it is distributed in a different way than a SIM. Your SIM, you know it, the plastic, the chip, and the SIM profile sitting already on the chip. Your eSIM, the phone, the chip, and the eSIM profile then being downloaded as soon as it is on the chip. Yeah, you have two similar things. And this is basically good to have, because there can be lots of questions where you're thinking eSIM, and then when you go back to think, what would I do if this was a SIM card? You already have the answer in whatever, 97% of the cases. eSIM is of course being more and more important now. 2 years ago at MWC, there was the rumor that iPhone 14 would be eSIM only. Then in September, it came. It was eSIM only in the US. Then last year was the rumor, iPhone 15. Where is it going to be eSIM only? Okay, it came. It was eSIM only in the US. And now, what will happen with 16? So this is one of the things that everybody is looking at. What is next step? Apple is clearly one of the drivers here. So what is next step? What will happen with 16? Will they expand the area? And of course also looking to some of the other vendors, Samsung, etc. When will they take that first step towards an eSIM only phone? Actually, the first one to launch an eSIM only phone was Motorola. They launched Motorola Razr years ago. It didn't really change much in the market. So there's a clear path now for eSIM. The numbers in devices that are eSIM capable are increasing. The numbers in revenue generated from eSIM is increasing. So we basically see now that things are just on its way up, and more MNOs and MVNOs are embracing it. They are having it as part of their product portfolio. Subscribers are getting their handsets, and it's an increasing business. It will, of course, be many years before it takes over, and there are no physical SIMs anymore, but we are just on that path. So we have, in terms of onboarding, we have simplified as much as we can the journey for our customers. That actually goes for both MNOs and MVNOs. We have laid out a very sort of well-structured onboarding plan, meaning that you can quickly get into the market. We assist you with the different support, the different questions that you might have, and so we can minimize the time to market for you. We can minimize the time and effort on your side. The only important thing for us is, of course, that you are a full MVNO or light MNO, that you have you know, the core, which means that you can decide for SIM cards, and in such case you can also decide for eSIMs. If you're a light MVNO and reselling the products of the MNO, typically you rely on the SMDP Plus of the MNO, and therefore we are not needed, or if we need to come into play, we need to have the MNO on board for that, which is normally quite unlikely. So if you have the core elements, the core network, then you can make the decision to go for eSIM, and we will of course be happy to support it. Should you also have private networks, you mentioned that before, we've set up a sort of a special offer for private networks where it needs to be even more lean in terms of setting up and operating it, because the low numbers in private networks. So in order to support that, we need something that is standardized, and if you can live with what is in the box, then we can also do something that very well fits the private networks. And I had a lot of private networks companies coming by at my booth at the MWC for this. So finally, to touch upon the greenness of eSIM and the green IoT use cases, something that we can utilize, both we can do in sort of in our marketing towards our customers, but which you can also do. If you introduce eSIM, you actually help reduce plastic waste, of course. Every time it's an eSIM, it's not a SIM. You have whatever 4 grams of plastic not being distributed around the world. In terms of life cycle management, it is much more effective because you don't, again, distribute the physical parts and then they are not being used because you don't know what is where and all of that. All of those things you don't have with the eSIM. The energy consumption to produce them lower. You don't have the electrical waste from the chip, etc. So eSIM in itself is a greener product. So if you introduce that, you can also say, yes, we're doing something for a green IoT. At the same time, there are interesting use cases out there where eSIM supports the use or different use cases. Honestly, yes, some of the use cases could use a normal SIM, but now we're talking about eSIM, so we are talking about eSIM being behind some of these solutions. There's a Danish company called ByteBlocks. They're introducing new streetlights in Togo, 25,000 streetlights, and the streetlights can now be controlled so that you can reduce the light if you don't need it, and thereby you have the energy consumption. At the same time, they are including cameras in some of the streetlights. They are including Wi-Fi in some of the streetlights. So they're trying to utilize them for several use cases. They actually, owner of the same company, also launched this electrical motorcycle company. And so now they are putting out electrical motorcycles. They are monitoring those motorcycles. They're monitoring the battery change stations. They are monitoring, you know, how far did it go on the last charge? When are they charging, etc., etc. And they're even considering putting chargers into some of the light poles, and so thereby having more charging places and combining everything into a sort of big network of both one and the other. So these are some of the use cases that are out there now, where you also see eSIM supporting the greener initiative. So maybe 5G in itself is not green, but eSIM is for sure. Thank you.
Question?
Yes?
How often does the eSIM communicate with your cloud server?
When an eSIM is downloaded, there's a notification confirming when it's successfully downloaded. There's a notification when it's enabled. There's a notification when it's disabled, and there's a notification when it's deleted. So in those cases, it will communicate back to the server so that the platform knows the status of the eSIM. That is needed so that if you are allowed to download it again, yeah, of course, that cannot happen until it's the platform knows that it is properly deleted from a device, because of course you want to avoid any clone eSIMs. The activation, deactivation happens on the device. So that's you as a subscriber that does the activation, deactivation. Something that actually happens quite a lot. I thought that there would be more sort of downloads of each profile. That's really not what's happening. They're being downloaded, but they're being turned on and off a lot, at least from in our African, with our African customers.
Why is that? What are they doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I live in Denmark. I have mine. It's been turned off for 3 years now.
I have 5 mobile plans on my iPhone, depending where I go. I just
Yeah.
enable it or turn it off. Or I have like a business phone line, which I use just for like mobile authentication with the US number, and I only use it when I log into like Apple.
Yeah.
So I just turn it on, go on Google Fi, turn on the service for 10 minutes, get an SMS, turn off everything.
You can have 2 actives and as many as you want stored.
You have like 7 profiles.
40, I think you have 40 or 50 eSIMs on your iPhone.
40 actives.
No. Profiles downloaded.
Active too, right?
Yeah.
And in Africa, I mean, in Nigeria, subscribers will typically have, for each network in the country, which is obviously probably why it's turned on and off.
Where, where you travel, so I also like family plans, like
Yeah, yeah.
So just one more question.
Yes.
The security, the portability, these are like, again, like some of the misconceptions about eSIM. So highlight thinking about like security. So how stop cloning.
So this is, and this is one of the things that the GSMA has, of course, put a lot of effort into to make sure that eSIM is secure. So so first of all, when we launch our platform, we are certified, where auditors are on site to see that the security, physical, all of that, policies and stuff is there, and they issue a certificate to us. The same thing happens on the EU ICC. They also have a GSMA certificate. Therefore, the EU ICC and the platform does a handshake before they perform the download. When you scan the QR code, that consists of a matching ID. There's a unique code generated by the platform. And what the device does when it scans the QR code, it knows where to go, and it delivers that code. So again, there's the security that, yes, you are allowed to download a profile. Then it's encrypted communication. And the packages they get downloaded, then the notification comes back to the platform saying, yes, now this profile is downloaded, okay. You cannot then download it again until you might have deleted it here and it comes back. And then you have the profile reuse policies where you as a customer decide, but are you allowed to download it again? Are you allowed to download it again to any device or only to this specific device? So it registers the EID, the number of the chip. So there are different profile reuse policies, and for each customer, they can be set different. So that is in what we call the profile type. So you could allow your postpaid customers to download maybe several times, but you could then say we do a marketing campaign for someone and there they download it, but if they delete it, it's gone. Stuff like that. So you have these.
Security as well, like the normal SIM. So when you download it again, you have to enter a PIN or something.
So you also have the opportunity to add when you download it that you put in actually a download PIN code in order to do so. So there are different mechanisms that ensures that it's a safe journey. Yes.
So in the case that Roman mentioned of OnSIM, where they were creating an MVNO and doing things like cloud PBX, etc., is it possible to have an eSIM that ties directly with an application like PortaOne, for example, so that this PortaOne will only work if this eSIM is in use? Is that possible?
Maybe on Android, but on iOS you have no access to the SIM. But on Android, I think you can actually understand which ICC ID is connected or IMEI and stuff. I don't want to steal your word. But
No, but I probably couldn't have answered the question anyway, so that was good. But the good thing is that here again, if it can be done with a SIM, it can be done with an eSIM.
And you are integrated with PortaOne somehow?
Yeah. So we did recently in our webinar showcased how you could be in the PortaOne portal ordering the QR code, so triggering those steps, what's called the ES2 Plus interface, so that API is then integrated so that via the PortaOne you trigger those steps, you get the QR code, the customer can then scan it, and you get the notification so that you can see the status. So you don't have to go into the eSIM platform to look for this. You stay in the PortaOne and you do everything there.
Last question. Do you have also, for example, you have in the IoT part, in the M2M, you have the platform for the operator, but sometimes, for example, car providers, car manufacturers, they want to have their own platform.
Yeah, so in the M2M use case, which is more complicated, you have the SMSR and the SMDP. We provide most of our customers with both, but then there are the use cases that you described that someone actually only needs the SMSR and then they connect to SMDPs. Connecting an SMSR to an external SMDP is somewhat complicated and at least expensive, because we want money, we maybe do not charge that much, but then you connect to an operator which is has one of the larger SIM vendors, and then you get a big bill. And that means that those use cases normally don't work out. We always propose to say, okay, but let's get the MNO to give you the profile and put it on your DP. Not all MNOs wants to do that. It's softening up a bit, so I think we can get there. And I recently heard that Mona from Telefonica in Germany saying that, we know that that this whole thing killed a little bit the M2M thingy. We are doing some stuff to see, okay, can we make it a bit more flexible? And we're working with one of our customers saying, okay, if you buy the connectivity from them, they will actually allow you to move their EU ICCs into your own SMSR. So we're trying to massage that a bit, and then there's the whole new SGP32 that at least from the marketing material looks like it's going to save the world. That's probably not the truth, but it will then solve some use cases because that provides more flexibility. It's utilizing the SMDP+. So there you can, one device cannot only be connected to one SMSR as in the M2M, but now it can speak to several SMDP+. It can be managed by several EIMs. So you're building in some flexibility. Then you're adding some other stuff that you then need to deal with. So yes, I'm here the rest of the day. Just, hit me with the questions. All right, thank you.